What's the worst case of rich kid syndrome you've seen? A guy looked at my $2,000 beta car in college and commented that it must have been really cheap and guessed $15,000. In high school, a kid was bragging that he got in his third fender bender in his old car 3 years old that his parents gave him but he hated. So his parents were buying him an entirely new current year car to incentivize him to drive better. Hey son, you wrecked your new car. Well, fine, we're getting you a new one hoping you'll drive better. Genius. I knew a girl whose allowance was $90 a day. She got into trouble so they cut it to $90 a week. I work for a dentist and her son is a spoiled brat. He was at the office one day because she had to bring him to an appointment later that day. He got bored and went out wandering around some of the local shops. He came back a little while later and without any preamble walked up to her and said, "Give me $80. She asked him what it was for and he just repeated himself and she gave it to him. My fraternity brother's monthly allowance of $2,000 was cancelled from his parents because he made a few Fs. He then called his aunt for a separate allowance. Went to HS with this insufferably spoiled kid. Family had a couch in their home's elevator, and classical European sculpture. This was in the US. Kid talked down to about the less fortunate on a regular basis. Once made fun of me for picking a coin up off the ground. I wouldn't say rich kid but definitely spoiled brat who thought he was rich. Befriended him in 5th grade over our interest in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. First time I hung out at his place I noticed just how littered with stuff his room was. Some even unopened. I showed him some rare card that I had recently pulled from a pack. He got super jealous and angry that I wouldn't trade or sell it to him. He immediately got up and walked over to the family computer and booted up a site where you could buy cards and various other toys and such. Completely ignoring having me over, he's now on an online shopping spree adding stuff to the cart. After adding a few things he yells, "Where's the credit card?" And immediately his older sister comes running up the stairs to yell, "Kyle, Mom said no more buying stuff online," and closes the website and shuts off the computer. Kyle then proceeds to have a crying tantrum on the floor and I'm just standing there over him in shock at what's happening and how he's acting. I slowly stopped hanging out with him until completely avoiding him as his temperament got worse. Kid wasn't even rich either. If I remember correctly, both of his parents were cops. This kid back in high school was whining, I mean literally whimpering, that he had to wait something like 6 weeks for his custom-built BMW to come over from Germany. Worked with this kid who was a good kid, but completely disconnected from financial reality for most people. He'd just moved out west from another state and was trying to get on like a normal adult. He went to buy a new car and was shocked that they couldn't just bill his dad for it, since they didn't know him. He ordered a bottle of wine at a restaurant and the sommelier said, "Certainly, sir." Then the sommelier whispered, "Just for your knowledge, sir, the bottle is $700. He looked straight at him and asked, "Is that a lot?" The sommelier honestly didn't know how to answer. Good kid, and he got a lot better, but he just didn't know. Once he casually told his mom he needed some help with bills and she deposited $20,000 into his account. Friend got a theater with an arcade built over their family's 12-car garage. Parents didn't want the 5-year-old sister to be jealous, so they hired an architect to design and built her a fully functioning playhouse with a bathroom, AC, and bedroom. Just the tip of the iceberg with this family though. Knew this one guy at my college who didn't understand why everybody is so worked up about student loans. I remember him saying something along the lines of, "Why don't people just pay the tuition up front?" He was also quite sheltered. This girl would always brag about how she's been to every continent except Antarctica and that she's visited so many countries. Then she wondered why people called her the rich kid and insisted she wasn't rich. Lots of rich people deny it. They don't want to feel bad about their money, so they convince themselves they're middle class. She was probably just parroting her parents. Went to school with a crazy rich kid. His parents divorced and each decided to buy his love. Mommy owned a real estate agency, so she got him a license and spoon-fed him enough sales for a 6-figure income. The dad then bought him a magazine. Yes, the dad bought a magazine for his 24-year-old cokehead son to run. Worked about as well as you'd imagine. I have a cousin like that. Her parents have always just bought whatever job she's kind of interested in. In high school, they opened a Dairy Queen so she would have a place for a first job. They've bought her a clothing store and an interior design business, home decor store. And now that she's got kids and less time to work, they bought like 4 condos for her to use as Airbnb properties. The only good thing is when she gets bored, her stepbrother takes over and finds qualified people to run the businesses. So other people are ending up with nice jobs. Someone's sister got $600 shoes as a birthday present. So the parents got the other kids' shoes of the same price to stop their complaining. Baby Saturday. Some rich kids. A couple gems where when we were watching a movie and she said someone was ugly because they were poor. Another was that they left the stove at the side of the road for hobos. Kid was about 11. I nanny rich kids and I know exactly what attitude you mean. Mine think that anyone who catches the bus is dangerous and poor and will kidnap them. They mocked a girl who got a scholarship to their expensive school so much that she transferred back to a public school. The mother has me sit in the house doing nothing for up to 8 hours when they have tradespeople in because she's convinced they will steal. The mother also declutters their old crap by dumping it on the cleaning lady because she knows all the refugees in the city and there are people who will really enjoy this stuff. It's a nice idea, but we're talking about old underwear with no elastic. Soft toys with giant stains and missing limbs. School bags that are so old the plastic material has hardened and cracked off. And felt pens with no lids that dried out years ago. She just has no concept of what real people's lives are actually like. To think that they might want this garbage. My fiancé's cousin. He managed to crash 4 cars while still in high school because his father would replace them. When he moved on to college, he got kicked out of several apartments for owning a dog when they weren't permitted. He told me he didn't care though, since his father also funded his continuous stream of new housing. From what I last heard, his father is now paying for his long-standing cocaine habit. So my best friend's wife teaches at a ritzy $40,000 per year private school. As in, $40,000 a year for elementary and middle school. I think the HS is like $50,000 plus. Well, she teaches 7th or 8th grade. I can't remember. And she said she always goes around the class after the summer break and asks them what they did over the summer, and she particularly remembers one kid complaining about how much his summer sucked because he was stuck on his parents' yacht all summer and they didn't even take it to anywhere cool. Just Italy. One of my college classmates wrecked his Range Rover over winter break and came back in an Aston Martin. In college I wrecked my 1998 Toyota and came back in a 1998 Toyota with the front bumper missing. One of my friend's friends ended up paying for a night out food and entertainment. He'd go up before we got the bill and just pay. No matter how much we argued with him and tried to pay him back, wouldn't take it. Nice dude, Mad Bala Rich. When I was in college, and in various groups that interacted with people with established careers, the people with careers would do this for us. Not all the time, just every now and then go cover everyone's tab for whatever outing we were at. Honestly, it taught me a lot more about sharing what I had with people than it made me feel like I was a poor college student. But it had a lot to do with the attitude. Most of the time, when it happened, they'd tell everyone goodnight, not make a scene, and do it behind our backs and leave. We'd go to close out and the waiter or waitress would be like, "Oh no, Bob or Mary always took care of it." Being humble college students and usually sometimes knowing these servers lent to us just tipping on the usual bill, and for a lot of these people it became an unspoken social agreement that they would cover us and we would pay it forward by making sure our regular servers got taken care of. The Nintendo DS just came out. It was like $150 and my family lived in a cramped one-bedroom apartment and drove a 20-year-old car that was always breaking down. We ate those cheap bags of Walmart beans and rice for months at one point. I expressed the desire to own one after my friend said he had one and I got, "Why can't your parents just buy you one?" I don't get it. It's dirt cheap. He didn't want to be my friend after that anymore. Literally avoided me and made fun of me for the rest of the year behind my back. I'm still salty about it. Maybe not rich kid syndrome, but middle class kid syndrome. Luckily the only rich kids I knew were the most outstandingly well-behaved boys I've ever met. I was a youth leader in a ministry for middle schoolers, and I think the worst it ever got was them being mildly disruptive at times. But these kids had a literal half-sized basketball court in the basement, along with a basement the size of a comfortable 2-bedroom apartment, an arcade, a fully stocked second fridge. Don't even get me started on the house itself and the yard. This place easily would list at least as $1 million home. But they would share with all the kids in the group and never ever look down on anyone for not having money like them. These boys even helped me change a flat tire on my car because they felt it was useful to know how. They literally could probably afford a tow truck and a tire repair all in the same day if it ever happened to them. They were so well grounded that it made me feel like I was the spoiled brat at times. A friend of mine inherited a lot of money, enough to buy a house, and he spent it on 2 cars. A Subaru completely modded to Ken Block's version of it and some BMW, both extremely expensive. We asked him a few months later why he didn't buy a house with it because he still lived with his parents. So he told us that he already owned a penthouse. He just didn't want to move yet. Went on a cruise with a rich friend. Dinner was served as a 3-course menu, and you could order as many different courses as you want. Rich friend would order 2 plates of food per course, eat a single bite or 2, and throw away the rest of the food. My family was extremely poor when I was younger, and even though we are much better financially now, we still refuse to throw away even the smallest leftovers. All those plates of food wasted hurt my heart to see.